Trump's going to have to pay over $400 million to appeal the E. Jean Carroll verdict, as well as the Letitia James going after the Trump organization. I am talking to you right now in Tennessee. There is no state income tax in Tennessee. In New York and California, the state income tax is around 15%. If I made $1 million a year, frankly, I make a lot more than $1 million a year, but if I made $1 million a year, I would be paying roughly $150,000 for the privilege of living in New York or California. I don't have to pay that in Tennessee, Texas, or Florida, 3 southern states with no state income tax. If you have assets right now in New York or California, I would submit to you, sell them, get out, and move to Tennessee, Texas, or Florida. Because over the next 30 years, over the next 40 years, I think you're going to see a massive departure from California, New York, Illinois, blue states, big cities, Chicago, New York City, LA. And I think you're going to see a movement to the Houstons, the Nashvilles, the Miamis of the world. Texas, Tennessee, Florida. If I had to buy stock in 3 states right now, it would be Texas, Tennessee, and Florida. Because the more money you make, the more you save by making one of those 3 states your home. Doesn't mean you can't travel to New York City. Doesn't mean you can't travel to LA. Doesn't mean you can't travel to Chicago. Base all your companies here, red states, where you're not going to have crazy political people coming after you over trying to take away your assets like happening to Trump. You can still go visit. You can still go see a Broadway play. You can still go out to the Santa Monica Pier. You can still go walk around Chicago, go watch a game at Wrigley Field. Don't make them your homes. Get out while you can. Blue cities and blue states, that combo is a bad one. And it's only going to get worse. And the more money you have and the more success you have, the more of a target you become for taxation and potentially for persecution based on your beliefs. Come here, Tennessee, Texas, Florida, make them redder, save a massive amount of money, raise your families here. I love it. I'm telling you, it's not a bad move. I shared a photo, maybe we can put it up in a shorter version of this, of the Nashville skyline. Compares 2015 and 2024. And that skyline photo, which you can see on my Twitter feed at Clay Travis, demonstrates the stupendous growth that we have seen in my hometown of Nashville, Tennessee. And I want to say, I tie this in with the prosecution that we're seeing of Donald Trump's business interest in New York. I got a lot of people who listen to me in New York, California, Illinois, just using those 3 as an example. If you live in a blue state, get out now. Leave your blue state. Things are getting worse under one-party rule. Come to the state of Tennessee. Come to the state of Texas. Come to the state of Florida. 0 state income tax. When I started OutKick in 2011, early on in my tenure, people said, Clay, that's great. I hope you have success at OutKick. But if you want to really grow this business, you need to leave Nashville and you need to move to New York and LA because that's where media businesses are located. And I said, no, I'm not moving my family. I like where I live in the Nashville area. I like the state of Tennessee. I'm not going to move. I don't think things can change. I don't think for the rest of my life I will ever live anywhere as my full-time residence than Tennessee. I don't think I'll ever leave. If I did leave now, it would be Florida, where we're building a house down on 30A. Also no state income tax. If I had to move, maybe I'd look at Houston. Maybe I'd look at Dallas. If I had to go somewhere, I'm not living in a place other than a red state. Okay? I'm telling you, you need to move too. And it's amazing now, everybody wants to come to the state of Tennessee. The conventional wisdom was you can't have success with a media business in Nashville. Now, so many people from New York and LA, they want to move to a place like Nashville to live and raise their families. I think over the next 25, 30, 40 years, the population growth in places like Texas, Tennessee, and Florida is going to skyrocket. And the amount of people that are fleeing New York and California and Illinois is going to continue to skyrocket. I see it in my neighborhood every day. People coming from Chicago, LA, San Francisco, New York City. They're all coming here. No state income tax. Florida, Tennessee, Texas, buy stock. Everybody assumes, this ties in with my next thing. Everybody assumes that whatever has happened before is going to continue to happen. And they presume that what hasn't happened is never going to happen. That's a huge part of the way the human mind works. We're always preparing for what has happened to happen again, not for what's never happened to happen for the first time. It's like the story of terror attacks, right? Everything we do is respond to a terror attack that has already happened and try to prevent one like it from happening again. We spend very little time talking about how to prevent a terror attack, for instance, happening ever. So if you go get caught in TSA lines, that's all a response to 9/11. The next terror attack is unlikely to be guys with box cutters getting on an airplane and flying it into buildings. It's likely to be something that we haven't ever thought about before. I'm thinking about this recently because the Nikkei, that is the Japanese stock market, hit an all-time high in 1989. I was 10 years old in 1989. I am old enough to remember when there was a panic in the United States with the idea that Japan was going to buy up everything and the Japanese economy was going to surpass the United States economy. This is a major topic. And now I'm seeing it repeated with China. China's going to catch the United States. Now suddenly China's economy is collapsing. They're not actually going to get caught. But the Nikkei, the Japanese stock market, set an all-time high in 1989. It just broke that all-time high today, set 34 years ago. Now, you can point out inflation has happened. It's not actually the same number. It's still far behind. All those things, okay. My point is, everybody out there tells you, buy S&P 500 index funds, and I'm one of the people who says it. Just buy and hold American stocks, and historically, you're going to make 9% a year, on average. That's all the advice retirement people would tell you, everything else. What if we had a 34-year period where our stock market didn't go up? Why, if it could happen to Japan, could it not happen to us? Yes, you can look over the last 120 years, and you can say on average, stock market's going to return 9% in the United States. Is that true? If it could happen in Japan, that their economy and their valuations could get so out of whack that it takes 34 years for a new high to be set, why could that not happen one day in the United States too? I hear nobody talking about it. I bet nobody in America, nobody in the world forecast in 1989, hey, it's going to take 34 years for the Nikkei to end up at a new high. I bet not one person in the world made that forecast. Yet here we are 34 years later. Well, the U.S. stock market just hit a new high in the S&P 500 today. I'm not sure if the Dow did. What if a lot of the people watching this right now weren't even alive and we had 34 years where our stock market didn't hit a new high? Just something to think about, kind of the way my brain works.